So, welcome to the Earthworm group. And, last week we have been speaking about stepping out of the silo of human supremacy and the importance of, relating to the more than human world as our teacher at this time. And, rather than staying with the story that we know everything about how nature works, we can begin to relate to other species, for example, trees or whatever calls us, rocks or the ocean, a brook, a spring, whatever calls to us, relate to these more than human persons or presences, to relate to them as our elders, as our teachers. And, I really noticed I arrived yesterday night in this small forest monastery here in the Redwoods. And even, I didn't see much, but the trees are very, very towering trees. And there's just the energetic presence of those trees, if one opens oneself to it, is it's quite imposing. And I really feel, they are noticing me too. It's not just like I look at the trees, but there is a true experience of presence of other beings here. So, not only thinking about, we are observing nature through telescopes and microscopes, but also allowing the perception, that we are actually also witnessed by the biosphere. We, as the human species, now in a threshold situation, an evolutionary threshold, where we need to understand on a much deeper level that we are part of a living, intelligent Earth. Because if we don't really make that shift, it doesn't look like that our species will be able to continue to be carried by the planet. Because the way we are currently behaving, we are a huge drain on the planet, and it cannot go on like this. So when I'm here with the trees, I really can feel their presence, and they really demand respect for how long they are around in comparison to us. And, laying down our confusion, laying down our suffering at the foot of a tree and asking for guidance, being fully with the tree, that's one practice we can start to cultivate. In our own way, in our own kind of stumbling way, just getting started with that possibility and see what happens. And I think you'll be surprised, because there is a real possibility for conversation if we are able to meet these other species, these more than human species, on an equal level, if we can humble ourselves. And, for example, the Earth Room, where I usually teach from and where I live, has, all over the walls and the ceiling, eyes. And when we are sitting inside of that Earth Room, there's the perception, that we are seen. We are seen where we are at as a species. And if we can really, lay down the burden and ask for guidance, there is response. So the cosmos, is, or the universe or the biosphere is aware where we are at as a species. And I think, the the different beings, they are reaching out to us. They'd like to help us, you know. But we need to empty ourselves and humble ourselves to be able to receive that support. And I have been bringing today a poem by Franz Kafka, Austrian poet, who was a contemporary of Rainer Maria Rilke, just a little bit younger than Rilke. But he died before him because he died in his 40s. He had something with his lungs. And I'd like to read out a poem. It's called Listen. And it speaks about, you know, about that listening from staying in your room and not going anywhere. I would shift the whole thing and say, go to the foot of a tree or go to a rock, go to any place in nature. But the essence of the poem expresses very well what I think is available. I'm reading it first in English and then I'm going to read the original in German so that you can hear that as well. Listen. You do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. You do not even need to listen. Simply wait. You do not even have to wait. Simply learn to be quiet, still, and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. And then the original in German, lausche. Du brauchst dein Zimmer nicht zu verlassen. Bleib an deinem Tisch sitzen und lausche. Du brauchst nicht einmal zuzuhören. Warte einfach nur ab. Du brauchst nicht einmal zu warten. Lerne einfach nur ruhig zu werden und still und für dich. Die Welt wird sich dir freigebig darbieten, um demaskiert zu werden. Sie kann nicht anders. Sie wird sich in Ekstase vor deinen Füßen wälzen. So this is Franz Kafka, who was born in 1883 in Prague. So he speaks about, you know, the world will show itself if we pay attention. And if we can shift our perception to a meeting of equals, not just like we are meeting resources, you know, we can cut down and rip out and eat or whatever. So have a very different way of approaching. And I think that's the center, that's the core of what it means, you know, to learn from the modern human world. And, you know, in the past, we always needed shamans and special teachers, you know, to do that for us, who were living, you know, at the edge of the village and who were like able to communicate with the biosphere, specialists, you know. And I think at this time, we all need to become those specialists. And, you know, the Pali word for monks and nuns is actually the word samana. And it's translated these days as, you know, almsmendicant, someone who lives on alms. And the root of the word samana is the same root as the word shaman, actually. So that's also an interesting fact, I think. It's about being able to communicate on the boundary, between what is known and what is not known. In that way, inviting the unfolding, the emergence to show us the way. And the basic, entrance is through openness, through opening. And, like to guide us again in a meditation. So please, find a position which works for you for about 40 minutes or so. And, allow your breath to take you into the body. And just, noticing what you're bringing here today, whatever it is, confusion, stress, worry, expectation, joy of meeting the group, meeting friends who are on the same trajectory as we are. Whatever you're bringing, just noticing that and allowing it to be here. Sensing the weight, the pressure, where the body meets the surface where we are sitting on. And with the out breath, letting any stressful energy, just let it drain down into the ground underneath where we are sitting, offering that up. And at the same time, breathing up the stability and stillness of the earth. And coming as a listener. Now I'd just like to guide us in a Brahma-Vihara meditation to get started. This is the 4 divine abidings. metta or benevolence, loving kindness, which connects us. Then karuna, compassion, which responds. And mudita, gladness, celebrates or brings a sense of awe. And then upekkha, equanimity, equipoise, which allows. So maybe we can bring up image of being human or more than human, which arouses a sense of wanting to protect that being. Can be a baby, a puppy, a kitten, a beautiful tree, the ocean, whatever comes to you. Allow whatever wants to come to come. Let it land in your awareness. And, breathing in the presence, the beauty, the mystery of this being. And with the in-breath, bring up the wish. May all beings, or may this being be happy and have the causes for happiness. The feeling that this being wants to be happy, just like we want to be happy. And this being has its own needs and is part of the web of life just as we are. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And then noticing in the heart area if there is some kind of a response. Maybe you can sense some kind of energetic quality. You might be putting your hand there to be a bit more connected. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So sensing and feeling the quality of metta. With the in-breath, really savoring the metta, benevolence, the opening of the heart, and letting it spread out throughout the whole body with the out-breath. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And if you can look in the eyes of if the being has eyes, you can look in the eyes. If it doesn't have eyes, you just take in the presence. And with the in-breath, allowing metta to really fill us, and with the out-breath, spreading it out throughout the body and maybe even beyond the body without any pressure, allowing it to radiate. Once our own being is filled, it can radiate out all around us, above and below, like sitting in an orb of metta, or benevolence, loving kindness. And seeing, how that metta becomes available through a shift of perception. It's not that we are making it or anything like that, but it's always there, and it's like connecting with it. By using a sentence, using an image, using an intention to connect with it. Like tuning in. And then, zooming a little bit out and seeing the bigger setting of where this being is residing. And seeing some version of impact of human beings on the landscape there. The, cut down trees or the garbage, or the oil pumps, some kind of impact, which whatever comes up for you. And seeing, what is the response in the heart? Is there compassion? May all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm. May all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm. And noticing in the heart area the difference of the energetic quality of karuna. I experience it as more like more downward. There's a bit more heaviness in it. And Venerable Ranalio explains, that metta benevolence is like the sun at noon, and karuna is the sun in the evening setting, going towards darkness. May all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm. The heart's response, to seeing what has been done based on ignorance. Based on a piecemeal understanding of science. And taking that in, so that we might understand better by exposing ourselves to that which is hard to integrate. But with the motivation of may all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm, we totally can do this together. It's not about blaming anybody, it's about growing up. Our species is a very young species, and how could we have known? Allowing all of that, to percolate in the body, in the heart, in the chest area, maybe, down into the stomach, the center of gravity, the lower body, just allowing it all to percolate. Out of compassion for ourselves and for everyone else, human and more than human. So that we may better understand, so that grief, that compassion might open us up, create more spaciousness for new information to land in us. It's the only way how we can clear out the old. We need to process it, and compassion is the way to go. It's a natural process. May all beings be free from harm and the intention to harm. As we are like dropping a bit deeper into the process, really sensing the soil, the ground underneath where we are sitting. That's where we are held. This is where we live. That's where we are. That's where we contribute to our lives. And so a willingness, to listen and making the space internally and externally. And then, reflecting on the fact, that we are here together, and all of us, we somehow came to this group because we are sensing there's something emerging. There is something calling us. And, we can name it many different ways. The urge to evolve, compassion, curiosity, and how awesome that is, that this living being we call planet Earth, we are inside of, knows what to do. And through practicing intentionally and listening, we can attune to that. And we can provide ourselves as expressions of that wisdom of the earth. By being willing to digest what we know about the situation and not turning away from it, but asking for guidance And there is a response, and that is awesome to connect with consciously. One step at a time, a practice. And an emergence, which we are willing, to midwife, help to midwife that without suffocating it with any expectations and ideas, but try to keep an open mind, keep humble, meet on an equal footing with the modern human world. Stepping out of the silo of human supremacy, which is not easy, but it can be done. It needs to be done. And we are already doing it. And that is mudita, sense of gladness, or a sense of awe and reverence, respect. For the mystery of the evolution of this planet, which is an expression of the Dhamma. Dhamma in the sense of nature. The earth is also teaching us. And the Buddha Dhamma can help us to steady ourselves and emptying ourselves out of conditioning. Of grasping to old securities which are no longer working, and letting go into something new. With a sense of joy or subtle joy, sense of excitement, curiosity, possibility, aliveness. And sensing how it feels in the heart area or in the torso if we are connecting with this aliveness. May all beings never be separated from their good fortune, is the classic sentence for mudita. The good fortune of having met the Dhamma, the good fortune of having a healthy enough body we can participate in this practice. So sensing now into the expression of mudita, which is compared with the sun, in the early morning when it rises and the birds are singing and the sunlight is reflected in the dewdrops like jewels, the glory of that, the joyfulness, even if it's only a subtle joy of possibility of growth and maturing, that is joyful. That even the most difficult situation can be a launching board for growth if we meet it in the right way. And we can do that. And we are doing it already. May all beings never be separated from their good fortune. Sensing in a different quality of mudita, an uplifting energy. And then, as we are coming slowly the next 10 minutes to the end of the meditation, we bring in the force of the Brahma Viharas, equanimity, equipoise, knowing, there is difficult times in front of us. We have a new president soon. A lot of confusion and changes again, and steps back and 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and that's how life works. It's not a straight line. And knowing that this is how it is. But being filled, with the certainty of we are part of a living, intelligent earth. And we can respond from that place. Brings a sense of equanimity, equipoise, and that there is others who have a similar experience. That's why we meet. And we are not the only group. It's a process, and it's a multi-generational process. It starts and then it needs to be integrated over a few hundred years, this shift. Needs to start somewhere. Opening up that path of mutuality between human and the more than human world at a time when there is no more other option open to us. And we can, lend ourselves to be antennas, receptors for that information to be received and responded to and celebrated and revered and respected. And then do what we can and then let go with equanimity, with a bird's eye view, knowing it's not going to be a straight path, but it's going to be a windy path. And the obstacles are the path. They are not in the way, they are the way. That's how we grow, that's how we become more strong, more connected, more fulfill our potential by meeting the obstacles with an open heart. And our own fears and doubts and worries, all of it. It all belongs. It's all part of the path. And the word kindness is really important. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, kindness is my religion. It's a very simple word, but it's about, humankind is one species and there's many, many different kinds of expression of life. And, to really train ourselves that this perception can become stronger for us, because it still goes against the grain of our culture, but we can help to bring that in, to usher that in, to support that integration by doing the work ourselves and see what happens. Humankind and kindness. Our language has so much depth, but it often isn't really recognized because of the speed, our lives have. So taking the time to slow down and do this work is incredibly important. Some things can only be done in that quiet, slow, still place. I'm going to share the poem by Franz Kafka one more time in English. It's called Listen. You do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. Do not even listen, simply wait. Do not even wait. Simply learn to be quiet, still, and solitary. the world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. You're slowly, coming to an end of the meditation. I don't have a bell here with me. So please, whenever you're ready, come back into the Zoom room and connect, with whom you're here.